can we, each of us, how can we make a difference? Our awakening has to happen in this generation. Anybody who lives in this generation, no matter how old you are, but if you live on the planet now, it's going to happen now. So what does it take? 11% of the population would have to have the awareness in order for the whole population to make the shift. So I want you to all be part of the 11%. That's why I'm here. There is a language code that influences our cellular memory and therefore everyday reality. And we program ourselves through our thinking. And it's important to ask ourselves these questions. For people like me and like many of you, I like to know why before I can actually live it. I need to understand why. I'll wire it that way.
Knowledge is power. The more awareness you have, the more capable you are of surviving and succeeding. Well, this is a truth, but there's another truth as well that goes with this picture, and that is lack of knowledge results in a lack of power. Why is this relevant right now? This question about lack of knowledge is this. Is that we all have been provided with information about our health being involved with our genes. It's about the fact that the genes control the aspects of our lives. Well, we also recognize this, that we got the genes from our parents. And when you get genes from your parents and all of a sudden the genes control your life, then you find yourself to be more or less a victim of your heredity. If you find that there's cancer running in your family, then what do you start to get nervous about? My God, I've got genes in here. I'm a ticking time bomb. Something's going to go off and I'm going to end up dead or some problem is going to happen. Why? Not my responsibility. Came from my parents. Well, the problem with that belief system is it extends to another level. It says if you really can't do anything about your genes because that's what you received from your parents, then all of a sudden you become irresponsible in the sense of like, oh, I can't do anything about it, so why should I even try? And that's when all of a sudden all things go lost. And this is where this lack of power manifests itself, because this belief about genes is totally disempowering to every one of us, because it says you are less powerful than your genes. But what about the reality that this is not a true statement?
How does that feel for you? Could anybody, could have you heard that there? Isn't that liberating though, if you know that's not true? I know we inherit genes, but we don't have to be stuck with them. Now that's a nice thing to know. Now here is the next one, which is very important, this one, because this is his scientific background, and I really found this interesting.
Perfect. So here's the real environment. Here are the cells. Interestingly enough, if I would take dystrophic patients and take muscle cells out of their body, in many cases, when I took the cells out of the body and put it into a good environment, the cells grew beautifully and grew healthy and well. But when they were in the body, they didn't. Why? Because somewhere between the environment and the cell, the perception got involved with it. So our beliefs are altering our biology at every moment.
We have a choice as to how we respond to our daily challenges. So it is the program or the real us that is in control. In November, I broke both my feet. I knew I wasn't in control. My body certainly, I wasn't in my body. But at least I thought how interesting. I was observing myself why it happened. I wrote in Annaliese's journal what it's like to have 8 weeks in a wheelchair. I tell you, the life is completely different. Everything is different, and even people react different to you. Robin took me to a coffee shop, and the waitress very kindly said, "What does she want?" I was in a wheelchair. I was almost reacting, and I thought, do they think I'm not mentally there because I happen to be in a chair? But I never knew that until I was in that chair. And that was an amazing experience. I have great respect for people who live permanently in a wheelchair. It was an experience I needed to know for my 4th novel, I'm sure. And this is, of course, Greg Braden. You all know about him. Marvelous writer. The God Code. And he says, this is a very nice animation.
We appear to be the very precise recipe of DNA, genes, and chromosomes that it takes to create the physical vessel to hold the power of the soul. in this world. And the message of ourselves within the DNA is the physical expression. We're told that this spirit, this field of God, permeates all of creation and surrounds us. The DNA now tells us, literally in text, that we are the physical expression of that spirit that surrounds us. Through the message in ourselves, we're gaining greater and greater clues into the mystery of who we are.
That's quite awesome, huh? Our thoughts affect genes in our body. We are what we're thinking.
There are two classes of programs. One class is for growth and reproduction, which is a form of growth, and the other is for protection. So that the bottom line is this: when you walk into the environment, you're either going to select growth programs or you're going to select protection programs. Cells always move toward signals, nutrients or whatever, positive signals, because positive signals encourage growth. On the other hand, when a cell was confronted with a toxin, toxins threaten survival. So what does the cell do? It doesn't move to the toxin. What does it do? It moves away. And therefore, cells always move away from negative signals. Why is that important? If I'm a cell and there's food here, I'm going to move this way. If I'm a cell and there's toxins, I'm going to move this way. Can a cell move forwards and backwards at the same time? The answer is no. When confronted with an environmental signal, the cells have to make a decision to be in growth or to be in protection. Because when the cell is in protection, it stops growing. And the more protection we think we need, the more we shut off our growth mechanisms, and therefore we start stymieing our own health. Let me give you an example. Cells move toward positive signals as a mode of growth. Cells move away from negative signals as a means of protection. So the bottom line is this: cells are either moving in growth or cells are moving in protection, but they can't do both at the same time. You're either in some degree of growth or you're in some degree of protection based on the signals. The most important growth-promoting signal in the world today for a human is love. It exceeds nutrition. It's this: when you are in fear, you're shutting down your growth mechanisms. When you're in love, you're enhancing your growth mechanisms. And it's as simple as that. It's a dual strip, one way or the other way.
Now that was important, wasn't it? Yeah. We are what we're thinking. So can you imagine if you happen to reach the stage where you are in full bliss? You are so happy. You know, the feeling of being in love and being on top of the world, maybe when you win the lottery, whatever that feeling, if you can hold that feeling, the brain, the mind will translate that into cellular memory. Now, I go a bit further with my books because that's how you stop the aging process. Rejuvenate. That is possible. And scientists already agree it is possible. What did Bruce Lipton say? When he took the cell out of the body, the cell went back to its beautiful blueprint. But the moment it went into the body, it was covered with all the belief systems. Does that make sense? You don't have to be a medical profession to actually understand that concept. But if we bypass this, and if we are becoming our observer, and I want you to all think about being the observer. Close your eyes. And now walk out of your body and stand behind yourself. Visualize standing behind yourself and put your hands on your shoulders. And give yourself a big hug. And now sit back into your body again. And open your eyes. That's all it takes. And if you could walk around the supermarket thinking I'm an absolute phenomenal, beautiful, charismatic person, who do we attract? I think everybody around us is starting to smile. We think, you know what I mean to try to say, and we have to hold on to that. When we do, we attract in our world what we want, but we have to first embody that. We have to first be what we want in life.